What if I told you that one of the biggest project management failures in engineering does not begin with bad construction, bad procurement, bad vendors, or even bad scheduling? It begins with a number, a man-hour number, a number sitting inside an approved estimate, a number everyone accepts, a number everyone reports against, a number nobody has truly converted into controllable work. That is where many engineering projects start losing control quietly, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. Because the project has an approved estimate, but it does not yet have an execution control system. And that is exactly why CTRs matter. CTR means cost, time, and resource. But if you are a project manager, engineering manager, project engineering manager, discipline lead, project controls manager, or project execution manager, I want you to stop seeing CTR as a form, sheet, or administrative requirement. A CTR is not paperwork. A CTR is not a reporting template. A CTR is not a clerical breakdown of hours. A CTR is the smallest meaningful control package through which engineering scope, deliverables, manhours, resources, dates, assumptions, exclusions, progress measurement, accountability, and change control become visible. If your CTRs are weak, your project control is weak. If your CTRs are vague, your progress reporting will become vague. If your CTRs are oversized, your problems will stay hidden until they become expensive. If your CTRs do not define exclusions, your team will absorb extra work silently. If your CTRs do not connect scope, time, cost, and resources, then your project is not being controlled. It is being narrated, and narration is not control. A lot of engineering projects look busy. People attend meetings, drawings move, schedules get updated, dashboards show colors, hours get booked, managers discuss progress. But underneath that activity, nobody may have a clear answer to a simple question. What exactly are we controlling? That is the question CTRs are meant to answer. A proper CTR converts the approved engineering man-hour estimate into manageable execution packages. It tells you what is included, it tells you what is excluded, it tells you what deliverables will be produced, it tells you what inputs are required, it tells you how many hours are allowed, it tells you which staff categories are required, it tells you when the work starts, it tells you when the work must finish, it tells you who owns it, it tells you how progress will be measured, and most importantly, it tells you when the work has moved outside the baseline. That is why CTRs are not just an engineering administration tool. They are a project management control architecture. Let us be brutally honest. Most project managers do not get surprised because there was no data. They get surprised because the data was too aggregated, too late, too vague, or too disconnected from real engineering work. A discipline may say we are 75% complete. But 75% of what? 75% of hours spent? 75% of drawings drafted? 75% of documents issued? 75% of calculations checked? 75% of client comments closed? 75% of engineering confidence. This is where bad CTRs create dangerous comfort. They allow progress to be reported without evidence. They allow hours to be consumed without deliverables. They allow scope to expand without change control. They allow resource gaps to remain invisible until the schedule is already damaged. So the first rule is simple. Start with the approved man-hour estimate. Do not start with assumptions. Do not start with an old template. Do not start with what the last project did. Do not start with a generic activity list. The approved estimate is your baseline. It is the commercial and execution commitment. Your job is to convert that baseline into controllable work packages. That means every discipline estimate must be broken down into CTRs that can be planned, staffed, monitored, progressed, forecasted, and defended. If the total CTR hours do not reconcile with the approved estimate, your baseline integrity is already broken. Overallocation creates an unofficial budget increase. Underallocation creates hidden, unplanned work. Both are dangerous. A serious project must reconcile CTR totals at discipline level, WBS level, project level, and where needed, phase or deliverable level. Because you cannot control what you cannot reconcile. Now, the second rule is equally important. Break the work into manageable durations and manageable packages. If the CTR is too large, it hides failure. A 2,000-hour package called Prepare Engineering Deliverables may look convenient, but it is useless for serious control. It hides which deliverables are late. It hides which inputs are missing. It hides which specialist is overloaded. It hides which interface is blocking progress. It hides whether progress is real or only reported. But if the CTR is too small, it creates administrative noise. Too many micropackages create false precision, excessive maintenance, unnecessary reporting load, and fragmented ownership. So the engineering manager must strike the right control balance. A CTR must be large enough to remain practical, but small enough to expose performance. A strong CTR has a clear scope, measurable deliverables, logical ownership, realistic duration, visible dependencies, and a meaningful progress basis. Here's a simple test. Can the lead discipline engineer explain the CTR status in 2 minutes using scope, deliverables, hours, progress blockers forecast, and change exposure? If not, the CTR is either too vague, too broad, too fragmented, or poorly defined. Now, let us talk about WBS alignment. This is non-negotiable. Every CTR must align with the project work breakdown structure. The WBS is the project's execution skeleton. If CTRs do not attach properly to that skeleton, then engineering, planning, cost control, procurement, construction, and management reporting will start speaking different languages. Engineering may work by discipline. Planning may schedule by area. Cost control may report by WBS. Procurement may track by package. The client may measure by milestone. And suddenly, nobody has one integrated truth. That is how project controls become decorative. A CTR without WBS alignment is a loose control object. It may contain hours, it may contain dates, it may contain a description, but it will not properly integrate with the management system. This becomes even more critical in work-share execution. When engineering work is split across offices, countries, design centers, subcontractors, or remote teams, broad discipline-level control is not enough. You need clear CTR ownership. You need deliverables. You need input dependencies. You need progress rules. You need staffing logic. You need interface boundaries. You need a way to verify whether remote progress is real. A strong CTR system allows you to manage work-share execution without relying on blind trust. Trust is good. Verification is better. Now, one of the most underused parts of CTR development is scope definition. Every CTR must clearly define scope, inputs, deliverables, assumptions, and exclusions. This is where technical control and commercial protection meet. The scope tells the team what work is included. The inputs tell the team what must be available. The deliverables tell the project what output will be produced. The assumptions explain the basis of planning. The exclusions define the boundary of responsibility. If scope is vague, everything becomes arguable. If inputs are missing, delay becomes difficult to defend. If deliverables are unclear, progress becomes subjective. If assumptions are not stated, people forget the basis. If exclusions are absent, additional work gets absorbed silently. And this is where many projects bleed hours. Not through one massive change, but through hundreds of small undefined additions. Another review cycle, another client workshop, another layout option, another vendor data recheck, another model update, another format change, another battery limit clarification, another safety study input, another quick support request. One by one, these do not look dangerous. Together, they destroy the estimate. That is why exclusions are not negative language. Exclusions are control language. They define the edge of responsibility. They protect the project from confusing cooperation with uncontrolled scope expansion. A mature CTR does not just say, prepare data sheets. It defines how many data sheets based on what input for which issue stage, with how many review cycles, under which assumptions, and what is not included. That level of clarity may feel strict, but in real project execution, clarity is kindness. It protects the project, it protects the discipline lead, it protects the project manager, it protects the commercial baseline. Now, let us talk about resource loading. A CTR must not only contain total hours, it must allocate hours by staff category. This is one of the most important early tests of execution feasibility, because a CTR can have the right total hours and still be wrong. You may have enough hours, but the wrong mix. Too many designer hours, not enough checker hours. Too many junior engineering hours, not enough senior review hours. Too many production hours, not enough coordination hours. Too many drafting hours, not enough specialist input. Too many discipline hours, not enough interface management hours. And when that happens, the project looks resourced on paper, but blocked in reality. Resource availability is not headcount. Resource availability is competent capacity. You need the right people with the right skills at the right time for the right duration with the right review and approval support. That is why disciplined leadership must be involved in CTR review. Project controls can distribute hours, but only engineering judgment can confirm whether the staff mix is technically credible. A planner can load a schedule, but only the discipline lead can say whether the team can actually deliver it. This is where management courage matters. If the resources are not available, say it early. Do not hide the gap. Do not hope it disappears. Do not pretend overtime will solve everything. Do not silently accept an impossible schedule and then explain the failure later. If the CTR resource demand exceeds available capacity, the project has only a few honest options. Add qualified resources. Resequence the work, move work share boundaries, reduce scope, extend the schedule, defer non-critical deliverables, negotiate milestones, approve overtime consciously, or formally accept the risk. But the one thing you cannot do is pretend that a resource gap is not real. Silent optimism is not leadership. Early escalation with options is leadership. Now, let us bring in dates. Every CTR must have start and finish dates. Dates convert a work package from an estimate item into a schedule commitment. A 500-hour CTR over 5 months is one reality. A 500-hour CTR over 5 weeks is a completely different reality. The same hours can be easy, difficult, or impossible depending on the time window. So, the engineering manager must challenge the dates. Are the inputs available before the start date? Are dependent deliverables ready? Is vendor data available? Are client comments expected? Are review cycles included? Are interdisciplinary checks included? Are specialist resources available during the planned window? Does the finish date support procurement or construction need dates? Are there hidden external dependencies? A date without execution logic is not a plan, it is a future excuse. Now, approval. CTR approval must never be treated as a signature exercise. Approval means accountability. The project engineering manager must confirm that the CTR is technically complete, executable, measurable, resourced, and aligned with discipline reality. The project manager must confirm that it aligns with cost, contract, delivery strategy, commercial baseline, and project risk. If CTRs are approved without real review, the project is simply approving future confusion. The correct mindset is this: no CTR should be approved unless it is complete enough to execute, measure, and defend. If it cannot be executed, it is not ready. If it cannot be measured, it is not controllable. If it cannot be defended, it is not commercially safe. Now here is where many teams make another mistake. They create CTRs at the start and then forget them. That is not control. Engineering projects change. Client requirements change. Vendor information changes. Constructability feedback changes design. Procurement strategy changes deliverable priorities. Site data modifies assumptions. Regulatory comments create additional work. Interdisciplinary review reveals conflicts. Design reviews create action lists. If CTRs are not reviewed and updated through controlled change, they become obsolete documents. A CTR update must answer what changed, why it changed, which deliverables are affected, how many hours are impacted, whether dates shift, whether resources change, whether change control is required, and who approved the revision. If the project changes but the CTR baseline does not, your control system is lying to you. Now let us make this very practical. What are the most common CTR failure modes? First, oversized CTRs that hide detail. Second, vague scope that weakens change control. Third, poor deliverable definition that makes progress subjective. Fourth, missing exclusions that allow scope creep. Fifth, wrong staff category allocation that creates bottlenecks. Sixth, dates entered without resource validation. Seventh, WBS misalignment that breaks reporting integration. Eighth, approval without real review. Ninth, CTRs not updated after project changes. 10th, treating CTRs as project controls paperwork instead of engineering management tools. These failures are not small. They directly create overrun, delay, conflict, rework, false progress, resource overload, and commercial weakness. So what should you do if your project already has weak CTRs? You recover control. Start with a CTR health check. Review the CTR registered discipline by discipline. Find packages that are too large, too vague, missing deliverables, missing exclusions, missing dates, poorly resourced, misaligned with the WBS, or disconnected from the schedule. Then prioritize the high-risk CTRs. Focus on critical path engineering deliverables. Focus on long lead procurement inputs. Focus on safety critical documents. Focus on vendor-dependent work. Focus on multidisciplinary interfaces. Focus on work-share packages. Focus on deliverables tied to client milestones. Then run a CTR validation workshop with the project manager, project engineering manager, lead discipline engineers, and project controls. Do not make it a blame session. Make it a control recovery session. For each CTR, clarify scope, inputs, deliverables, exclusions, assumptions, hours, staff categories, dates, dependencies, progress basis, and change exposure. Then reconnect the corrected CTRs to the schedule, cost system, progress measurement method, and change register. Because a corrected CTR that is not connected to project controls is only a cleaner document. A corrected CTR that is connected to project controls becomes a management instrument. Now, how should you use CTRs weekly? Do not wait for monthly reporting. Weekly CTR review is where engineering control becomes real. Look at planned hours versus actual hours. Look at progress versus consumed budget. Look at deliverables issued versus progress claimed. Look at upcoming CTRs versus input readiness. Look at finish dates versus review status. Look at resource demand versus actual availability. Look at blocked CTRs. Look at forecast overruns. Look at hidden change. Look at workshare progress. Look at critical deliverables that are showing motion but not completion. Ask sharp questions. Which CTR is burning hours faster than progress? Which CTR has not started because inputs are missing? Which CTR is blocked by client decisions? Which CTR has progress reported but no deliverable evidence? Which CTR needs a change notice? Which CTR is dependent on an overloaded specialist? Which CTR is being delayed by vendor data? Which CTR is hiding interface risk? This is how CTRs become a leadership dashboard. Not a spreadsheet, not a form, not a ritual, a dashboard, a diagnostic tool, a control mechanism, a truth engine. And progress must always be evidence-based. Never accept vague percentage progress. If someone says a CTR is 80% complete, ask what proves it, which document was issued, which calculation was checked, which drawing was released, which review was completed, which comments were closed, which model milestone was achieved, which procurement input was delivered, which construction deliverable was approved. False progress is more dangerous than low progress because false progress delays correction. Low progress tells the truth. False progress hides the truth. And project management is not about protecting comfort. It is about protecting delivery. So let me give you the management standard in one clean frame. A professional CTR system must include WBS alignment, approved baseline hours, discipline ownership, scope definition, input definition, deliverable mapping, exclusion clarity, assumption visibility, staff category allocation, start and finish dates, resource confirmation, progress measurement logic, approval workflow, change update process, and weekly control review. That is the standard. Anything less is partial control, and partial control is where projects get damaged. The project manager has a role. You must challenge CTR quality before accepting the execution baseline. Do not only ask whether the estimate is approved. Ask whether the estimate has been converted into controllable work. The project engineering manager has a role. You must make sure every CTR reflects real engineering execution, not generic estimate language. The discipline lead has a role. You must define the work honestly, resource it realistically, and expose risks early. Project controls has a role. You must integrate CTRs with cost, schedule, progress, forecasting, and reporting logic. But nobody should pretend this is only a project controls activity. CTR quality is an engineering management responsibility because engineering teams do not fail only because they lack hours. They fail because scope, deliverables, resources, time, and accountability are not connected early enough. That connection is the CTR. So here's the final message. If you want better engineering execution, do not start by asking for better reports. Start by asking whether the work was structured properly for control. A project with weak CTRs may still look active, but activity is not control. Hours booked are not progress. Meetings held are not alignment. Drawings started are not deliverables completed. Confidence is not evidence. A project with strong CTRs behaves differently. Scope is clear. Deliverables are visible. Inputs are tracked. Exclusions are defendable. Resources are challenged early. Dates are tested. Hours are reconciled. Progress is evidence-based. Change is identifiable. Managers get earlier warnings. engineering gets better control. Project controls gets better data. Discipline leads get clearer accountability. That is what professional project execution looks like. CTRs are not bureaucracy. They are the execution control architecture of engineering management. When you develop them properly, you give the project a real chance to deliver with discipline. When you neglect them, you are not saving time. You are only moving the cost of poor definition into execution. And execution is the most expensive place to discover that the project was never properly controlled.